Hey everyone, welcome back. Rebecca Jean here with Style My Sweets. Today I have a compilation video of 30 fall DIY pieces, beautiful and unique, creative fall DIY crafts and home decor. Consider subscribing if you are new here. I would love to have you. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy it, and let's get started.
For the first two DIYs, I used two of these wooden pumpkin signs from Dollar Tree. Now, for the first one here, I'm diluting some antique wax and white chalk paint mixed together with a little bit of water in order to get a very thin, light stain to brush onto the background part of this pumpkin. And then for the other one, I actually just lightly brushed or sponged on some antique wax directly onto the wood. And as you can see, my nails are completely different. I actually filmed these two DIYs a couple weeks apart, but I wanted to show them first side by side. That way you can also see the different painting techniques. Let me know, do you like the paint stain look better or the antiquing wax? What do you think looks better? Anyway, this is the one with the antique wax, and I literally just peeled off their raffia bow, replaced it with a plaid one. These come 2 for $1 in Dollar Tree. I thought this looked very rustic, farmhouse, and I just glued that on and then glued the raffia bow back on top of it in the center. It's just a cute little door hanger or wall decor piece for fall and for just over $1 to make. So super, super easy, cheap, affordable, all of the things. Now for the other one, we're going to elaborate a little bit more, and for this one, I brushed that same stain that I made with the white chalk paint and antique wax with the water all over this sign from Dollar Tree to make a little stand for this piece that we're going to make. But first, I peeled this carved wooden pumpkin piece off the front of this little wooden tea light holder that you can get in Dollar Tree. Save the back part, we are going to use that later in the video, but for right now, I wanted a leopard print accent piece for this fall decor, and Dollar Tree doesn't carry anything in leopard print to my knowledge, as far as I know. Let me know if you've seen anything leopard print in Dollar Tree, but I have not, and I know this is maybe a little more trendy and unique, and I don't know if it's not your style. You can totally paint this however you want it to look, so don't feel like you have to go with the leopard. Basically, I diluted the stain that we just made even more to get a really light beige tan color. Obviously, if you have tan colored paint, just use that. But hey, I'm just working with what I already have on the table here, and once it was dry, I took an old paintbrush and just splotched on some copper chalk paint. This can be messy. I am using it in the color Metallic Copper by Folk Art. I will try to link everything for you guys down below. Pretty much the messier, the better. You don't need to worry about being super neat or anything like that. Just splotch the paint on in random spots and then come in with a Sharpie marker or a Sharpie paint pen like I'm using here and just kind of scribble in partway around the copper circles. Add in some extra little circles and squiggles in there as well. Is squiggles an actual word? I don't know. I think you get what I mean though. You really want this to be uniquely imperfect so it will actually look like leopard print. Just trust me on this one. I started out actually making neater circles and it looks really silly and hilarious. You want these to be a little bit messy and, you know, they're going to look more like an actual leopard print, and the print is not perfectly round circles. You can also pull up a picture on your phone or computer or whatever and look at a picture of something with leopard print and then kind of follow the pattern on that. That is what I decided to do, and it helped me so much. Totally optional now, but I cut a scrap of adhesive cork paper from Dollar Tree to fit the little pumpkin stem part. I thought it made a nice accent piece, but it's totally optional. And now I am gluing the leopard pumpkin onto our sign in front of the larger pumpkin, but kind of offset to the side, and then to the other side of the large pumpkin, I added in some pine cones and fall florals coming out from behind it on the side there, just to kind of complete the look. And I went with neutral colors for this, but you can obviously use any florals you like or skip the florals altogether, completely up to you. For the next one, I took this Dollar Tree wooden tray, and I have already previously stained this with some antique wax, but I was getting a little tired of it and I decided to use this piece to test out a stone finish spray paint. So I will link the one that I used. Let me know if you think this makes the tray look like stone or not. But either way, I think it's super cute, styled with some fall pumpkins and florals. My mom really loves it, so I think I'm going to actually pass this one on to her. I also took this little jar from Dollar Tree and cut a piece of adhesive cork to fit around the center of the jar, and then used a Dollar Tree stencil with a Sharpie paint pen to stencil this black design onto the cork. And then spray painted the lid black to match, and I was thinking of getting some fall candies or nuts, something to keep in here for a snack, but it would be great for storing little craft supplies like beads, pearls, gems, stuff like that. And it is the perfect size to add in with your tiered tray fall decor. Even if you put nothing inside, it's super cute. Hey, you might be able to use this as a sugar bowl. I'm not sure how well the top on this one seals, but if you've got some packets of sugar or sweetener or something like that, you could also use this for your coffee station. Now, for the next one, we're using the wooden piece left over from the back of the first leopard pumpkin we made. I actually made 2 leopard pumpkins with 2 front pieces, so I took the wooden sides from one. I'm going to show you guys in an upcoming video now the other leopard pumpkin that I made. Yeah, you'll see that soon. But for now, I had the back portion of another one of these wooden tea light holders or whatever these are. So I took the wooden sides from one and brought them over to this one, and I glued them on to form a little back here so that we have kind of like a little cup holder for some flowers or something. If you don't have that, you don't really need it. I mean, you could cut a little piece of cardboard or something like that just to kind of brace it up. So that we have a little holder, like a little cup holder that you can put some flowers in. And that's what I'm going to do, is just be adding some fall florals in here. But once it was glued, I gave it a good coat with some matte black paint, and then I cut another piece out of that same sheet of adhesive cork from Dollar Tree, stuck that on across the center. Even though looking at it now, I kind of feel like I really should have done the cork part, either the top half of the pumpkin in cork or the bottom half of the pumpkin, rather than doing it across the center. What do you think? Dollar Tree has a variety of letter stickers now, so I used some in order to spell out Happy Fall. They're really bold, easy to read. I think these look good, but my daughter said she feels like this is something that you would find in a classroom, and it just looks like a school classroom decoration. So now I feel like I should have picked maybe some different letter stickers with a different font that didn't look like they belonged in a school classroom. But actually, maybe that's the perfect thing, because you could actually use this now as like a pen holder or a pencil holder for your homeschool classroom or for your desk or office. While I was doing this, I was literally actually thinking to myself how everyone says happy fall or happy spring, but I feel like I've never heard anyone say happy winter. And I was just trying to figure out why. I mean, some people must be happy for winter, right? Maybe because we say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, all the other things? I don't know. Anyway, gluing a little wooden pumpkin sticker on the bottom completed the look. Other than debating adding some twine up at the stem, which is an optional way to complete this pumpkin, and of course, sticking in your fall florals, or again, pens, pencils, whatever you want to keep in here. And I love that this piece is also little and cute enough to make a great little accent for a tiered tray for your fall decor as well. Hey, if you do that, you could even stick your straws in here if you use straws for your coffee. The next one could also make a great fall piece for tiered tray decor. I took a little round Dollar Tree trinket tray and cut a piece of burlap. This actually came out of one of the packs with the burlap banner pieces. I found it in the party section at Dollar Tree, and I thought it was so cute. They give you, I think, 6 or 7 pieces of burlap that you could write on to spell out, you know, something. But I glued that circle of burlap into the center of the trinket tray to cover up the design there and just make it look a little more rustic and something more for fall. And I added in 2 wooden pumpkin stickers on top of there, and this one's done. By the way, if you go light on the glue, you can easily pull this apart at the end of the season and you can reuse all of the pieces separately, so that's always a bonus. And then I wanted to do a neutral fall pumpkin topiary, so I painted this Dollar Tree carving pumpkin with white chalk paint. It gives you great coverage. It dries relatively quickly. I did spray paint the ceramic Dollar Tree pumpkin though, and that worked out great. And then I stacked a white velvet pumpkin on top of the chalk painted one and then glued the spray painted ceramic one on top of that. Now the velvet one sits perfectly on top of the foam one because you can pull the stem out of the foam one really easy, and then find a ceramic one that has a hole underneath so that you can sit it right on top of the stem of the velvet pumpkin that comes in that medium size. So you'll have a larger, a medium, and a smaller size pumpkin. I think these look so cute. I did a copper version in my last video. A little glue will keep everything in place, even though these are a little bit top heavy. I added in some fall leaf accents, but then I ended up still feeling like it was too much white and I wanted to break it up and just add a little more interest to it. So I ended up taking the top 2 pumpkins as their own little piece and putting them out in the foyer to brighten up that space because I have like wood and nautical rope, and that way the white, it kind of pops a little bit more out there. I took the foam pumpkin from the bottom and I added a tan colored velvet pumpkin that I had coated with Mod Podge last year. I used Mod Podge and glitter on here, so I made that the centerpiece and then topped it with another kind of copper metallic pumpkin. And I spaced out and hot glued on 3 clusters of orange hydrangea onto this grapevine wreath. Then I added some white mums, also from Dollar Tree, and layered some orange leaves coming out from under the mums. I thought the 3 sections with space in between looked pretty good, but once it's done, honestly, I'm not so sure, so you'll have to let me know what you think. For my bow, I took this brown and gold mesh from the dollar store and cut little sections like 6 or 8 inches long and just rolled the ribbon up on itself into these little ribbon curls. And then I took a little twist tie and gathered them all in the center, and the ends of the ribbon curls stick out and they look like a little star of ribbon on here. I think it looks really cute. I also twisted in some loops of this leopard ribbon I got in Walmart, hot glue that all onto the wreath, and then I tied this mesh tube, also from Dollar Tree, into a little bow and glued that in the center. I also took this extra leopard pumpkin and I nestled it down behind the ribbon. I think the colors look so good together, although my pumpkin and bows filled in the bottom here now, so now I'm kind of wondering if the top sides look like they are missing something and maybe I need to go back and add extra flowers or something and just fill in completely around the wreath. What would you do? Would you leave it like this or would you fill it in all the way around? For the next DIY, I took a foam pumpkin from the dollar store and cut pieces of these pearl adhesive sticker sheets. These came from Dollar Tree as well. I did wider pieces on the bumps of the pumpkin that stick out and then narrower pieces going down the indented part in between. And I stuck some fall florals and berries in the top. I think this looks pretty cute. However, the color contrast of the orange and white was a lot brighter than what I wanted for my fall decor, so I painted over the entire thing with some metallic copper chalk paint. And once it was dry, I made a little fall floral arrangement using cream and light orange fall flowers, along with a couple pieces of these other little, I forget the name of these. They're kind of like this dark pinkish purpley colored flower, but I had a few left over and I just figured I would add them in for an accent. So I think using 3 different floral pieces in here looks pretty good and gives it a high-end type look. So you can also twist in a piece of deco mesh for a little extra sparkle and glam, and just to mix it up. If you don't want it to be glam, you could also probably try this with a burlap ribbon. But I think it looks amazing, but make yours however you like. Now, the tray that I have it in here is actually a plant tray caddy on wheels from Dollar Tree. I took some of this white nylon rope from Home Depot, and I'm starting around the center of the tray, gluing the rope around and around, working my way out to the edge and then on up the sides. If you want to do this entirely from Dollar Tree, you can use Nautical rope or the narrower nylon rope they usually have in the auto section of Dollar Tree. Although this rope is so smooth and nice, it makes a beautiful accent for decor. If I can find it, I will link it down below for you, but just know that I got it in Home Depot. Now, I brought my rope down like up over the edge and then down to that top edge part. And then I painted the sides with my copper chalk paint, and I decided to do the bottom now in rope as well. So I went around the bottom 2 layers high with the rope around the bottom edge, and then trace and cut out a piece of foam board or cardboard, something like that, something you could just fit in the bottom to give you a little extra stability here. It doesn't have to be a perfect fit, just a rough measurement to fit in there, and something that's going to give you a base now that you can go around and around and hot glue the rope all the way around into the center. Then for some reason, I took this foam pumpkin I already had chalk painted white, and I glued that on as a base. I think it looks unique, but honestly, no matter how I styled it, I kind of feel like it looks like a crown or something like that, and I just preferred the look without the pumpkin base. So I removed the pumpkin for a different DIY, and I just styled the tray as is without any base. How do you like it? Do you like the base on here? Do you like the tray? Would you use it together? Or is the whole thing just not your style? Go ahead, comment and let me know. But while I was crafting, Kylie brought me our tissue box cover like this, saying, "I'm so sorry, Mom." And I was actually able to fix this with some Dollar Tree super glue. So yay, super glue. I always keep that on hand. I'm not sure how long it will hold, but super glue is seriously amazing. And I'm hoping that this will last me for a while before I end up actually needing to replace it. For the next DIY, I took a pack of these wooden boards from Dollar Tree in the Crafter's Corner. Have you seen these wooden planks in your Dollar Tree yet? I was so excited to find them, and I got a bunch, and I'll be including a couple packs in the giveaway as well later in this video. So I lined them up, staggering the heights, and then turned everything over and hot glued large popsicle sticks across the back. Use whatever ones you have. It doesn't need to be pretty. It's just to provide some support. And I'm using a wooden dowel from Walmart. These come as a pack of 3 for $1.99, so they are less than $1 a piece. Measuring some twine to make 2 loops, the height that I want this to be, and then I glued the ends of the twine to the back of our sign, and using another large popsicle stick to glue and hold everything together on top of the twine, just to really secure everything. These jumbo popsicle sticks are from Walmart as well. I will link them below, but you could totally make this DIY with a wooden plunger handle from Dollar Tree and the Dollar Tree popsicle sticks on the back for support. So flip it over now, lightly rub some antiquing wax on there. If you don't have that, you could dilute some paint in water, brush that on like a stain if you prefer, but I love how the antique wax just really brings out the wood grain look. Now I'm taking 2 of these burlap leaves. I think these came in a pack of like 5 or 6 at Dollar Tree, and I peeled the wire off the back. This was really easy to do, and we are going to need that wire in a minute. So hot glue the leaves facing out on the ends of the wooden dowel, and then cut approximately 6-inch long pieces of that brown and gold mesh ribbon like we did in the first DIY, and just let them kind of curl in around and wrap on themselves like a little circle tube of ribbon. Gather up 4 or 5 curls of ribbon like this, using pieces of the wire to pinch and twist them in the center. So you get like these little ribbon bow curls. I then took 2 sunflower picks from Dollar Tree and arranged them with the ends in the middle. And then with some hot glue, I tightly wrapped the center now with twine to keep the floral picks in place there. So everything is glued and tightly wrapped in there with glue to keep everything nice and secure. I stuck in a couple extra flowers as well here and there on the sides and glued my little ribbon star with all the ribbon curls that we tied together right in the center. And then I just glued a couple more sunflowers in the center of the ribbon. I also glued in a couple of extra leftover green leaves here and there as filler. And I thought about doing the word welcome for this sign, but you would need one extra board, so that would require a second pack. You only get six boards in one pack. So if you have a second pack, you could do the word welcome. But if you have just one pack of 6, you could spell out the word gather or autumn or family, like I'm doing here. I would love to know what else you think you would want to write on here for the seasons, and you could handwrite the letters, you could stencil them on, or keep it super easy and just add some Dollar Tree stickers like I did here. I'm taking this round sign from Dollar Tree. This was left from summer, but you can use whatever you have. You could even cut out a piece of Dollar Tree foam board. That would actually work just as well, and you would probably get 2 pieces for $1. You'd be able to make 2 of these signs. It's just going to be a little bit more work to measure and cut out circles out of foam board, but it's totally up to you. Dollar Tree has been carrying fabrics lately, which is so awesome. And I've seen people find some super cute and adorable ones there, but since my Dollar Tree never has the cute fabrics, they just have like solid color ones, which are nice, but I really wanted something cute for fall. I picked this one up for just $1.49 in Walmart instead, and I just measured and cut that out to make the circle here, and I Mod Podged that right onto this summer sign. Next, I took a piece of the cork foam sticker sheets that Dollar Tree has now. Hopefully you can find this, but if not, you could do burlap ribbon across the middle or something like that. I just cut this and then glued it on. I did try to measure it a little bit to kind of get the edges round to fit with the circle. And then I added this little harvest sign from Dollar Tree. I love the contrast of the metallic with the brown cork sticker and then also the grays that are in that fabric. These signs come 3 for $1 in Dollar Tree, which is a great deal, and they come in different words. So you could do thankful, blessings, welcome, whatever you like. I started getting carried away with this one now, and I cut and sanded the edges of 2 dowels, and I glued those on to frame my sign in the center. So I think it actually added a nice bit of contrast. I think it looks pretty cool, but it's totally optional. Of course, you know I'm taking a strand off of that same Dollar Tree luau skirt to make my fall raffia bow up here. You already know I'm going to say it. It's cheaper and easier than using raffia, but by all means, use whatever you like. Seriously though, if you get one of those luau skirts in the summertime, you may be able to get most of your DIYs done as far as adding little raffia bows and stuff like that just off of one luau skirt, because you get so much material for just $1. It works so well for tying little bows and making little crafts like this. So I made a second little bow shape now to layer on top, and I did this out of the berry garland wire that Dollar Tree sells, also in their floral section. I think it added like a nice little accent touch and just gives it a little extra color and dimension. I think this little bow, just layering it on top of the raffia bow looks pretty cool, but again, up to you. I added a couple of these pumpkin stickers at the bottom, and then you can just add a generous amount of hot glue on the back to attach a loop of twine, rope, whatever you want, so that you can hang up your sign. And here is how it turned out. On to the next one. This is going to be a beautiful crate fence basket that you can actually use for any season, but I'll show you how I am going to decorate it for fall. You will need 36 of these jumbo craft sticks from Walmart. I think this is a couple dollars for this pack, and you get 45 sticks in the pack, so you still will have some left over. You'll also need one of these canvas Dollar Tree artwork pieces or something that is about that size. Dollar Tree, it might have a little wooden one instead of a canvas one, and if you can find a wood one in the same size, that will be absolutely perfect. So keep that in mind. Now you can paint the canvas part, you can make it however you like. Mine, I actually had already covered this with a piece of an old pillowcase that I found in Dollar Tree last year. I thought it was really pretty and I was planning to use this for a project, but then it never worked out. So I figured, hey, I might as well make it just be the base for the inside of this basket because it's been hanging around and I have nothing else to do with it. So for the wood sticks now, we're going to carefully cut the rounded ends off of 28 of those wood sticks and just cut the rounded part so we'll have like a flat edge. You could leave these natural, you could paint them, stain them, add some antiquing wax, whatever you like. I decided to give mine a super light coat of white spray paint just to lighten them up a little bit. I wanted to lighten up the color of the wood but not totally lose the texture and grain of the wood, if that makes sense. And I did both sides, but it was not necessary because actually once you assemble all this and I show you how I decorated it, we aren't going to see the inside when we're done, so no need to do the inside, but if you want you can. Anyway, once they are dry, I used hot glue to attach one rounded one with the little rounded part sticking down to make like a little foot for the basket, and then I glued 5 more pieces right along the edge neatly in line, and one more on the end, again with the rounded part sticking farther down off the canvas to make a little foot. Just make sure that you line up those 2 little feet part on the ends evenly so that your basket will be even when you're finished. Then I took 2 more of the pieces with flat ends and I glued one across the top half and one across the bottom half to make this kind of look like a fence. This is actually more difficult than I expected though, because you are making the little feet and you're trying to hold this up in the air. And it's not balancing very well, so there is an easier way to do it. Line up your 5 sticks vertically with the flat ends lined up together, and then place one rounded edge stick vertically on each end of that. And then come in with 2 more of your flat edge sticks and hot glue them horizontally on there to make the fence. So basically you are creating this same little fence side panel portion and you're just doing it flat on the table, flat on your surface, and then you can pick the whole thing up and then easily just add hot glue and put it right onto your canvas or whatever you're using for the base of your basket. So I hope that that makes sense. You are going to need 2 more sections like this now. You're going to need 4 sections in total. And we are going to hot glue them all the way around the edge of the canvas, one on each side, and add some more hot glue or wood glue, or even you could use super glue gel if you want. That would work too. In between the seam edges. It's not totally necessary, but I highly recommend that. And then if you want to make it even a little bit more sturdy, you could take some tumbling tower game blocks or something like that and glue those in down along the inside corners so that you're gluing both sides of the block in there to really attach both side panels of the basket here on all the sides. That is going to give you a lot more support and stability just to really help make this more stable. It would also help when you make all 4 sides if you do them side by side so that you can line up your panels and make sure that like all your fence panels look symmetrical and that your horizontal panel lines are lining up on there. I didn't do that, so a couple of my pieces are out of line now. Live and learn, right? I'm sharing my mistakes so you don't have to make them, and hopefully yours will come out looking even better than mine. I'm very confident you can make yours look better than mine after watching how I did this one. Hey, sometimes it's not a what to do video, it's more of a what not to do video, but that is just real life, and live and learn. We're kind of figuring this out as we go. I cut some tiny pieces of this adhesive foam cork, again from Dollar Tree, that they have in their new craft section, and I added that to those horizontal boards going around our little wooden basket here. That's totally optional. I thought it added some extra color and dimension, but it's up to you. And then I arranged a bunch of Dollar Tree sunflowers in here, all in different shades of orange. You could also add in pumpkins if you want. Just keep in mind that the bottom part is only supported by hot glue on here, so I wouldn't do anything too heavy, but I love how it makes such a large statement centerpiece for a table like this. I think it turned out really nice. For the next one now, I took one of the little wood palettes from Dollar Tree's craft section, and I'm covering that with some copper paint. I wrote thankful, grateful, blessed on here with a chalk marker, but I felt like it wasn't bold enough, so I came back with my black Sharpie paint pen and I just redid the letters with that. And I made another little raffia bow with a piece from the hula skirt and glued the bow along with a stick on top to make this sign look like a little pumpkin. This is actually from Dollar Tree. They have these little wooden logs, but you can obviously use any stick from outside, whatever you have. I added a couple tiny pine cones, some little maple leaves, and this little adorable sign is done. On to the next one. I wanted to make a pumpkin topiary, so I took one of the Dollar Tree carving pumpkins and I painted that over with some copper chalk paint. I love the copper color. Any burnt orange color is just definitely my mood for this fall. I did remove the center part and I painted the whole thing and then used hot glue to add 2 more pumpkins on top, a smaller one and then one that was even a little bit smaller on top of that. And it works perfectly because the top one actually has a little hole underneath, so you can actually set it right on top of the stem of the middle pumpkin and just use a little hot glue to help keep everything in place. You could embellish this with pine cones, leaves, bows, or just leave it like this and it's super cute. And Dollar Tree has a variety of velvet pumpkins, glitter pumpkins, shiny pumpkins, like metallic, whatever you like. So you can probably find the ones you want in a combination and just use the carving pumpkin in order to make your base. Moving on, I'm taking this black plastic bucket from Dollar Tree, chalk paint, and sponge that on here. This is a lot better if you go lightly. You can always add more as you go, although I added way too much on here. You want to almost like dry brush this on with a sponge until you get it the color you want. Remember, you can always go back and add more paint, so much better to start with a lighter coat and then just keep adding until you get it to the color and texture and pattern like how you want it to look. I also did this down on the inside a ways, like along the top, and then down into the bucket a little bit. Next, I took some of this wired mesh cord. This is something new Dollar Tree has, and I really like this stuff. You actually get a good bit. You get 15 feet of it for $1, which is a lot better deal than even the Nautical rope, because I think some of those lately have only been 7 feet or 9 feet. I think they used to be 13 feet, but anyway, now I think they're only 9 feet. So this is actually 15 feet for $1, and it's kind of cool that it's a mesh cord and it's a little bit stretchy. So what I decided to do was actually glue this around right under the top edge here, all the way around this basket, and I just left it as is, gluing it around. And then lower down on one of the little indents going around on the bottom ring of the basket, I actually pulled it tight and glued it on, and that way it's actually a little bit different texture. It looks a little bit narrower because it's like pulled nice and taut and it's tight around the edge on the bottom part, so you actually have like a thinner band around the bottom and then like a thicker nautical rope look around the top. And now I took some leftover plastic bags, stuffed them down inside just to kind of give it a little bit of filler and a little bit of height, and then I arranged some of the pumpkins in here and stuck some branches in of the Dollar Tree wheat and the Dollar Tree cotton floral picks in the back. And I love how beautiful this piece ended up looking, and you could switch up the pumpkin and flower colors to make this look more contemporary and modern or more eclectic. Maybe you want to use blues or a non-traditional color, or you could go totally traditional, do this with all the oranges and yellows and reds, or you could do it something like I did and make it what I think looks more of like a rustic farmhouse style. And since the blues are very popular this year, it seems like I figured let's skip the little red truck theme and let's do a little blue truck theme here with a mix of Walmart and Dollar Tree acrylic paints. Now, I also added on one of these little chalkboard signs on a stick. Dollar Tree sells these 4 for $1, and this chalk marker I picked up in Walmart last week for less than $3. If I can link one below, I'll do that, but you can always pick it up in the store. And I'm just writing pumpkin patch on there. Write whatever you want. I didn't really know what to write, so pumpkin patch it is. And I'm gluing that on the back so that this way it kind of looks like it's sticking up from the back of the truck. I glued the whole truck onto one of these fall signs that have the wood grain print on the side. So this way you'll kind of see that underneath the truck. It looks like it has like a wood backing for a stand, and that way it's holding the truck up. And then I took some of these pumpkin stickers. I had these left from Dollar Tree last year, but they usually have them every year. So I think hopefully you guys will be able to find them as well. And I just used some hot glue and layered on some larger and some smaller pumpkin stickers on here as well. I'm starting with a foam pumpkin and a roll of ribbon, both from Dollar Tree. I did cut a hole in the center of the pumpkin to remove the stem part, and then I tucked the end of the ribbon in there. You could use a little bit of hot glue to keep it in place, and then I wrapped it down the side and around and up the opposite side of the pumpkin and tucked a bit more ribbon down into the center, and then I just did that again, going around and around, overlapping the ribbon as I just continued going around the pumpkin diagonally, overlapping the ribbons as I go and tucking them down at the center. And then once it was totally covered, I used hot glue at the center and I popped in a little wooden stick. This is from one of the bag of wooden pieces that Dollar Tree sells, but of course you could use a stick from outside as well. And I love how this pumpkin can be made to coordinate perfectly with whatever other ribbon that you pick for your fall wreath or any other fall decor that you're going to be making this year. You can just coordinate and use the same ribbon for both. So that's now what I'm doing actually with my next project. And for this fall wreath now, I'm taking one of the large 18-inch wreath frames. So I'm starting with a roll of the Dollar Tree burlap ribbon and overlapping that, wrapping it tightly all the way around the wreath. This is going to kind of give me a base. I thought I would attach my bow onto here. It would give me something to glue my flowers onto. But actually, once this was done, I really liked how the burlap ribbon looked on the wreath. So I decided not to cover the whole thing in flowers, and we're going to do it a little bit different. Now the burlap ran out, as you can see, so I wrapped that little space here just with a little bit of the plaid ribbon that I had from the pumpkin, and then I'm going to be making my bow here. And then I'm gluing some wheat with one bunch going up to each side. I kind of fanned them out and made like a little spray of wheat, and I'm also doing a mix of burgundy, cream, and this other peachy pink colored flowers. They looked like a fall pink to me, like a fall pinkish orange. And I found these in Dollar Tree as well. Farmhouse, like a fall farmhouse vibe. Anyway, if you pull the flowers off of the stem, you can just cut that little stem part that's left, cut it down flat, and then you'll be able to kind of glue them onto your wreath nice and flush. Now for the bow, I gathered up that same plaid ribbon and I'm taking it and gathering it into 5 loops and then leaving like a longer tail to kind of hang down a little bit. Now I took an elastic band just to tie all those loops together and hold them together, and then I just glued that right onto the bottom of the wreath here in the center. I also had a scrap of burlap Dollar Tree ribbons, so I gathered that up into a few loops as well and I glued that on. Ideally, I think if you can get a piece and have enough long enough to have a piece to leave a tail coming down as well and do the same thing that we did with the first bow, I think that would be the best. My piece was too short and I was just using what I had left, so I just did the bow part and I fanned out the loops, and I think it just adds a little bit more texture and pattern and color on here, and I think it really helps contribute with that burlap and lace. It helps it have even more of like a rustic country farmhouse type feel. It's so perfect and so beautiful for fall time. And here is what it looks like all completed. Next one is another pumpkin DIY, and for this one I'm again taking one of these orange, bright orange foam pumpkins from Dollar Tree. You can just pull out that little green stem. And now what I'm going to do, I started out taking some of this new kind of rope stuff that I found. It looks like a nautical rope, but it's actually a little bit hollow on the inside and it's kind of stretchy. So anyway, I am just taking this and I'm kind of following the lines down the pumpkin to give this a little bit of kind of just following along with the pumpkin, and I'm just going to completely actually cover the pumpkin with this stuff. I did not do the very top center or the very bottom. I figured nobody's really going to see that. I brought the top ones kind of up all together toward the center. We are going to be sticking something up there. Again, you could use some sticks from outside. You could use one of those little wooden stick, little wooden logs from Dollar Tree. Or if you don't have that, go ahead and just grab a pine cone. I know it's super simple, but it actually ended up looking pretty cute with this little rustic fall pumpkin. Moving on, I'm taking one of these pink Dollar Tree wastebaskets, and I'm taking some of the large wooden craft sticks from Walmart. Now, I already had the end cut off of these. I had used the ends for a previous project, but go ahead and just take some good scissors and cut those off. Actually, now mine are a little bit short for the end of this, but as you can see, here is the size that you would have straight out of the package. So you could actually trim a little bit less off than I did, and I think these would fit absolutely perfectly. I'm just hot gluing them right on. You can actually push them up under that little lip, under the edge around the rim, and it helps hold them in place. Now, as they get toward the bottom, because this basket is a little bit tapered, you will have to overlap them a little bit, but honestly, I don't mind, and I think that it looks pretty cute that way. So I put them side by side at the top, and then they just overlap a little bit as they reach the bottom. And then once these were all on and in place, I took it outside, and I'm going to spray paint the inside. The only paint that I had on hand was like black, white, or a copper rose gold color. So that is what I opted for. I'm going with the rose gold on the inside, and then I started liking how this was looking, and so I just decided to actually go ahead and why not spray paint the whole outside as well. Now I am debating whether or not to go back and add a little more texture, maybe with some wax, antique wax paint, or with a little bit of like a light white color, maybe dry brushed on there. I'm not sure yet. Comment and let me know what you guys think. But at this point, I wanted to add a top and a bottom just to kind of give it a more basket look and kind of complete the look. So I am taking one of these little woven baskets from Dollar Tree and using some of the lighter portion wood from that basket. I just cut those pieces out and hot glued them around the top and around the bottom. And I think that this just really completes the look and just elevates the look. And now what I'm thinking of adding in here are some fall flowers. I think that is just going to be so pretty, so beautiful for fall. Honestly, you could probably use this indoors or outdoors. I may put it out on the porch, but I'm thinking I may actually use it in the living room. Not totally sure, but either way, I really like how this one turned out. Moving on to the next one, I'm taking one of these little wooden trays from Dollar Tree's craft section, and these are so adorable for $1. I love them, and I've been waiting for an opportunity to think of what could I use these for. And I'm taking some of my antique wax paint here. I love this stuff. This has been so fun. I just got it, like I told you guys. I don't know why I waited so long, but I will have it linked if you're curious. And so I just took a little paintbrush and just brushed a little bit on here. Not really any particular way. I'm just going to take a little rag now and rub all of that in and wipe it so that it all gets even and spread out. And I feel like this just really gave it some nice natural wood grain texture, and it just really looks like a rustic wooden crate, a wooden basket. I think it looks so natural, and I love that for the fall. And then I had some of this ribbon from last year. This deco mesh actually is from the Halloween collection. I decided to just gather it up and make 4 or 5 loops. Then you could obviously tie this together with some floral wire or a pipe cleaner, but I didn't have any of that on hand, so I'm actually just taking an elastic band, which I have plenty of because I always save these when they come on our fruits and vegetables from the grocery store, so I collect all of those elastic bands. So I'm just going to use that to gather up my little bunch here, and I did leave a little piece of deco mesh longer hanging off the side, and then I'm just adding one single sunflower bunch. So for less than $3, I think this just turned out so nice and so pretty for fall. Moving on, I am taking one of these signs from Dollar Tree. Again, this is something I actually had left from last year, this Farm Fresh pumpkin sign. I forget what it said exactly because I had painted over it and I wrote coffee, like you can see on here, pumpkin spice, hot or iced. Anyway, I did some touches on this for my coffee bar last year, but for this year, I'm painting over the entire thing in an oatmeal color chalk paint. I think that if you had more of a creamy, tan ivory color, I think that might be prettier. The oatmeal color has like a little bit of a grayish green to it. I feel like more of a cream color would probably look even better, but totally up to you. I was just using what I have. So once that was dry, I went ahead and I just took a ruler and my X-Acto knife and scoring a line into the pumpkin horizontally, and then I just slid my ruler down and maybe like 1/8 of an inch, like really tiny, and did a second line, and then I used the end of my X-Acto knife to kind of lift up the edge, and it just peeled out that section. So this worked really well to add a little bit of texture. You could paint over the whole thing again if you wanted to, and that would give you a little bit of the texture. I decided to try with my brown Java paint, and while I like how it turned out, I also feel like the lines are super dark, and I'm kind of thinking that maybe I should have done it in white or perhaps just like a lighter shade of brown, but I didn't have that, so I'm using what I had. And anyway, you can see how it turned out and get whatever ideas for how you want to create yours. And Dollar Tree also has sets of, I think you get 5 in a pack of these little wooden pumpkins, and I think they have like maple leaves and maybe something else as well for fall. So I'm taking one of those I had left from last year and just applying a little bit of, you can use a little bit of the chalk paint or whatever paint you're using, or a little bit of the antique wax, and just rub that around on the edge just to give it, again, like that kind of aged wood, or it almost has like a little bit like as if you had burned the edges of the wood. I also wiped a little bit up there around the edges of the pumpkin stem. And now I am taking one of these square wreath frames from Dollar Tree. I am going to actually use mine more like a diamond shape instead of a square, with a point going up and a point going down. I'm taking 2 of these fall leaf garlands from Dollar Tree and winding those around it, and I'm also going to be adding in some of these burnt orange colored hydrangeas, again from Dollar Tree. These are one of my favorite fall flowers at Dollar Tree. I think they are so pretty. The color is like just so bright and beautiful, and I really love these for fall. And then I'm just going to kind of nestle my pumpkin down inside, and I'm resting it actually kind of in between these wires of the wreath form. I did add some hot glue right over top of that on the wire and on the pumpkin just to really kind of seal that and anchor it in there. And then I did come back with some of these golden colored asters from Dollar Tree and some other, I had a couple like cream colored mums and things like that. So I added a few extra flowers in there and just filled in all the way around the wreath. Obviously, whatever colors you want, whatever fits with your decor. Dollar Tree has so many beautiful floral colors and flowers and varieties for fall. And since I still had more of that orange and black and gold deco mesh, I thought that would be perfect. So I'm taking some of that and just layering a little bit of the Dollar Tree burlap ribbon as well on top of it. And again, just creating like 4 or 5 loops. And I did leave a little piece hanging at the end. And then I just tied mine up again with a little elastic band left over from all of our produce and vegetables. You can actually take the end of the elastic and then use that to kind of pull it through the wire and then loop it back around and pull the tail to your bow back through that, and that actually will just hold your bow in place so you don't need to tie or glue anything. The elastic band will just keep everything in place right there at the top where I added my bow. And so this is how it turned out. So this is the one I'm actually planning to probably leave out on the front door. I think this is going to be so pretty. I love the size of it. And yeah, anyway, moving on. The next one is super duper easy. I am taking one of these little shadow box frames. This one says welcome to the jungle. Obviously you can paint the inside, you could paint the little stand. This one is a very neutral, kind of modern fall decor piece. I know all of the other ones have been very traditional fall decor. You could mix it up though, because Dollar Tree has a ton of fall floral picks, and we're gonna need 3 of them for this. I am just bending them around, fanning out the pine cone, the pumpkin, and the berries, and placing 3 of them going around in a circle around that little center piece. And then the last thing is just adding one of these glass jar vases from Dollar Tree in the center and popping in a candle. And I think this looks so beautiful. I absolutely love this new style that they got in with these vases. I think it's new this year. It's the first time I'm seeing them is this summer, and I totally love this style. It definitely reminds me of like a lantern or something, or perfect. This would be so beautiful with like farmhouse decor, modern farmhouse. For this one, I'm actually taking a piece of Dollar Tree foam board. I've been painting on top of this one, and the other side was actually part of a DIY that I did back in the winter time. So this foam board has definitely gotten a ton of use, and we have had it around for a while. But anyway, you want to measure about 2 inches all the way around and then cut out that center square. You can save that for a future project. We're going to just be using the 2-inch frame that we just created. I think I actually cut mine slightly larger than 2 inches, but roughly about 2 inches. Now I'm taking more of the Walmart jumbo craft sticks for this and cutting the rounded edges, but you could easily do this with Dollar Tree craft sticks as well. You'll just need more sticks. And then I laid out my craft sticks. I do recommend doing this. Arrange them to fit around the frame how you want them and see where they're going to go. And then once they're where you want them, you can just go with some hot glue and glue them all on. You could probably, again, do this with the super glue gel if you don't have a glue gun. I wiped the wood down lightly with some antique wax to bring out the look of the wood grain. Now I'm adding flowers to what will be the lower left corner of this wood frame wall art, and I'm using some longer Dollar Tree fall florals going up the left side and some going across the bottom of the frame, and filling in the corner part now with shorter flowers, leaves, floral picks, berries, pine cones, whatever you want from Dollar Tree. I'm just attaching everything here with a generous bit of hot glue. I love how beautiful this is for fall. You can mix and match the colors, add pine cones, bows, whatever looks good to you. I'm actually taking one of these Dollar Tree signs. This one was left over from Valentine's Day, and we are going to use the back of it so you can actually make this into a multi-purpose sign and use it for multiple holidays. But we're going to also take a placemat, and that's what I'm going to cover the back with. Now, I thought I would get the most use out of it this way and cut it lengthwise, but I started to do that, and then I quickly realized that the piece that was left, I would not have a single wide enough piece to cover the remaining portion. So do not do this. What you want to do is now what you'll see me do here. I ended up flipping this around, and you actually want to cut this on the short way. Hopefully that makes sense. You're cutting it across the shorter width instead of the longer width, so you'll be able to get 2 pieces that are the same width across, and then basically the 2 pieces will cover this entire board. I used a chalk marker to outline that. You won't really see it. You can just flip it over. I used a little bit of super glue to place the placemat onto that board. Next, I wanted to take a few of the little wooden tumbling tower game blocks and make the letters F and 2 letter L's. So what we're going to do here is just make these 2 high, and then I put the pieces across to create an F and to create 2 L's. And then I'm taking one of these little color your own wooden ornaments. You get 5 in a pack from Dollar Tree, and I am going to use one of these maple leaf ones to replace our letter A. I believe they have a pumpkin that would be super cute as well if you'd rather go with that. Now this part is optional, but I'm taking a little bit of this spackle from Dollar Tree. It's super light, soft, and fluffy, and I am just going to fill in that little ornament hanger hole. And then once that's dry, I came back and sanded it to a nice smooth finish. So if you want to paint over this, you'll have a nice flat, smooth surface to paint over. And you could also do that for the little cracks in between the wooden tumbling tower blocks. Fill it in with a little bit of the spackle, and once it's dry, just sand that off. And that gave us a little bit smoother of a letter. The tricky part is I didn't really want to totally paint mine. I still wanted them to look like wood. So what I ended up doing was taking a little bit of this antique wax, and I will try to have these things linked below if you're trying to find any of these items. But I ended up taking the antique wax, and since I wanted it to still have the light wood look, honestly, you don't even need to put anything on here. You could just leave these totally natural wood, and I think that that would be so beautiful, and it would also give you the most contrast against that black and white placemat that we used. Alternatively, you could paint them white and just have nice bright letters, and since we filled it in with the spackle, they will look like smooth wood letters, and you won't see the little spacing in between the wooden blocks. But you'll still see it a little bit here because I was just using the antique wax and brushing that on. I tried diluting it with a little bit of water. That gives you a little bit of a lighter stain, and that works. Or you can brush it on a little bit thicker and in more of like streaks, and then just wipe that off with a cloth. Either way, there's so many options just depending what you want your letters to look like. I also went around the edges of the maple leaf, and that way I was able to leave some of the wood very bright and natural, but also cover up at the top there where that hole had been. I'm going to arrange my letters on here and just attach them now with some hot glue right onto the sign. This part is optional, but if you don't like the way the little wooden edge of the board is visible, you can just take a black marker and color that in. I have a black oil Sharpie marker here, so I just did that. And now I am going to make a raffia bow. Instead of raffia, which the raffia is more readily available in Dollar Tree, but if you have one of those Hawaiian luau skirts left over from summertime, they make super great raffia replacement, and I like using them. They're much easier to tie and bend and fold. Way more convenient for all of your crafts and DIY projects. So I took just a couple strands off of one of those hula skirts and cut them in half, and that worked perfectly to tie a nice little raffia looking bow here for the fall. I added in some of the light color maple leaves that Dollar Tree has this year, along with one little cream color flower and a little cream colored pumpkin. They came for $1 in Dollar Tree with the bow. Hot glued that all together. If you want to have a hanger for your sign, I would recommend either you can leave the red one in that came in here, or just swap it out for like a piece of twine and knot that and put it in. But definitely actually do it before you glue down your placemat, because once you glue that on there, if you can see, the hole is already sealed over. So put your little piece of twine in there first, and then you can glue the placemat over it and you'll have a hanger. I should have thought of that before and I didn't, but I actually was just planning to stand this up on its own. I did this with neutral fall colors, with blacks and whites and browns, creams, tans. But of course, you could feel free to do this DIY in bolder colors, completely up to you. Moving on to the next one, I'm taking one of these Dollar Tree sink mats and also one of the 9-inch willow wreaths from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to go ahead and just trace that out. What I want to do is cut out a portion from the sink mat to create a back for our wreath. I used some hot glue around the edges and glued that right onto the back of my willow wreath. Took this outside to spray paint it, and for a more neutral look, I decided to do something different and go with gray spray paint. I would recommend, the spray paint works great on the willow wreath. I just did a light coat of it, but for spray painting that plastic sink mat, you may end up finding that it's a little bit sticky. I do recommend doing really, really light coats and giving it a chance to dry so that it won't be sticky. Another option would be to paint the sink mat with chalk paint instead of spray paint. The chalk paint will dry much better, much quicker, and you won't get any stickiness left over. Next, I decided to take one of these little wooden plaques, also from Dollar Tree's newer craft section, and they also have some stencils there, so I picked up this stencil, and I am just going to stencil on the word gather. You could obviously do welcome, you could do happy fall, happy harvest, harvest blessings. I don't know, what would you put on here? There's so many options. And I'm just using a fine point Sharpie marker for this. I actually got this in Dollar Tree, and I'm not sure, would you leave it just with the word, I have the word gather on here, or would you add a design? Because I decided to try it with a design, but obviously I'm using a Sharpie marker, which is permanent, and I cannot go back and undo this. So I traced on this little like heart designs. To me, they kind of look like leaves, and I was like, oh, maybe for fall, this would be kind of cute. But now I don't know how I feel about it. So I just did them all a little bit different, and yeah, did a row on the top and the bottom, 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom. But what would you do? Do you like those, or would you skip it? I also brushed on a little bit of that antique wax all around the outside edge and just wiped that off, any excess, and glued it down into the center. I tried to arrange it so that the gather sign would have the sink mat behind it be on the diagonal so that they would look like diamond shapes behind it, instead of straight squares. And again, I am going to add one of my little luau skirt raffia bows. I think this is just so adorable for a few strands out of the skirt. I'm getting so many DIYs out of that for just $1, which is awesome. And I'm gonna add in some of these little goldenrod stems. I think that's what these flowers are. Hot glue those in place. Actually, you should do the leaves first, and then the goldenrod flowers, and then add your bow last. I kind of did everything in reverse. I don't know why. I guess I was trying to figure out what I liked the look of. But anyway, yeah, if you like the look of this, then start from the bottom layer and work up. I also decided to add a little bit of the blue in, and then this little pumpkin, I'm just gonna twist that one in here, and it lost the stem. It keeps falling out, and I cannot find, I have so much craft stuff, and I cannot find where it is, but I have this little piece of plastic. These come out of the ends of the Dollar Tree floral arrangements. When I completely pull like a flower off of the end, these are left like what was holding the flower in place. And to be honest, it worked perfectly to paint it with a little bit of the antique wax to give it a little bit of that brown color. I had already had some of the brown paint on my brush, and I just stuck that in the center, and it made the perfect little stem for our pumpkin. Take a couple of the green leaves and glue those in just for a little accent color. Here is how it turned out. I think this looks pretty cute. Let me know what you think, and what are your thoughts on the sign? My thoughts are that I should have skipped those little heart leaf things that I added on there. I kind of don't like them now. I don't know, do you like having that part of the stencil, or would you skip it? I could go back and let me know what you guys think on this. Should I go back and paint that center sign over? I could like paint it all white and then re-stain the edges, and then I could just re-stencil something else on there. What are your thoughts? Anyway, for the next one, I am taking one of these large Dollar Tree pumpkin placemats, and I am going to cover it in nautical rope. Now I am using one that I got on Amazon, and I will go ahead and try to link that one for you if I can find it, but I'm gonna just start around the outside of the pumpkin and just go around and around and around. I did kind of go up and down each section so that I left the spaces open, if that makes sense. And I just covered every part that was the orange placemat, but it does have cutout spaces, and I did leave the cutout space holes. I didn't cover the top. I'm going to use that to actually just glue on some flowers and make it a little decoration, but here is what it looks like. And then I came over it with a lighter just to burn off any of those extra little threads and neaten it up. This is totally optional, but I think it gives it a cleaner, neater look. So it's up to you if you want to do this step, but I like how it came together. And now I'm coming in with these maple leaves, again from Dollar Tree, along with blue roses, blue hydrangeas, and also some cream ivory color mums and things like that, and then mixing it in there with a couple of the green leaves off of the floral bouquets as well, just for a little bit of a touch of green in there. I think it just kind of complements the cream colors and the blue colors when we mix it up and we just add like a few natural green leaves. I'm also sticking in a couple more of the little pumpkins that were 4 for $1 from Dollar Tree. And then I had this sign that says Harvest Blessings, and I just took a knife and sliced that off so that I can use just the Harvest Blessings part. Obviously, be super careful if you're doing this, but I cut it off and hot glued it right on into the center of the pumpkin. And to be honest, now this pumpkin really looks like a rope pumpkin with a metal or metallic type sign. And I know my mom loves all of the rope decor, and like I said, all of the blues are going to go really well at her house. And being a log cabin, the walls are pretty dark, so hopefully this is also going to brighten up the space. Moving on for the next one, I really love how this one turned out. So I took 3 of these wooden square decor from Dollar Tree. These are actually for a wedding. They say we are getting married. But I liked that buffalo check pattern with the black and white checkered pattern on here. And what I'm going to do is actually take one of them and paint the inside tan wood portion, paint it all with my black chalk paint. And I'm taking another one and I'm painting that whole design on the top, painting that all with the black chalk paint as well. Now we're going to attach 2 of these boxes together so that they are inside to inside. So you are going to have one of the white "We're Getting Married" signs facing down against the table. It'll be the bottom of the stand. You can paint that if you want to, but nobody's going to probably be looking under there, so I wasn't going to worry about that. I have the design painted over with my black chalk paint, and I am taking 4 of these wooden dowels. These are actually from Walmart. Dollar Tree does have some that are about the same height, but they are much narrower. So it's completely up to you. You could do this with the narrower ones and just use the ones from Dollar Tree. I wanted the thicker ones for just a little bit more money from Walmart. You get 3 in a pack, so I did buy 2 packs, and I still have 2 wooden dowels left over. So I already spray painted mine with a flat black spray paint. You can obviously just use your same chalk paint or whatever you're using for that center. Honestly, this would also be beautiful if you did the wooden dowels in a white paint and you painted the center portion white. I am attaching this whole thing together now using wood glue. You could do it with hot glue, but if you can get some wood glue, I highly recommend it. And I glued the 3rd sign upside down on top of the dowels now, and that's like the top of our little lantern here. But now I wanted to add some weight to really get a great hold on here, so I actually set my purse on top. It's pretty heavy. I have a lot of junk in there that I need to clean out. I feel like my purse is like a catch-all for the things I need to put away sometimes, and I'm going to just place that on top because I had it conveniently on hand, and just add some weight here. Once that's dry, go ahead and take your same paint. And again, I've got my black chalk paint. I'm going to paint the top of the lantern. Most of this is going to be covered now, but I did want to paint it just in case any of it shows through. So I'm taking some ribbon that I already had on hand. I just went through my ribbon stash to see what I had that I could use. And I had a variety of ribbons from Hobby Lobby and Michael's and Dollar Tree. But what I ended up deciding on was this cream color with a little bit of gold design in the middle. This was like leftover from, I don't know, last Christmas, I think, from Michael's. But you can use anything like this. Dollar Tree has plenty of ribbon choices. And then to go with it and complement it, I actually am going to layer 2 of the Dollar Tree ribbons. One of this wider, messier looking, very rustic burlap one. You know what? It's actually not burlap. It's more of like a woven twine, because they do have a burlap ribbon, but it's like a cleaner, neater look. And this one has just that little bit of like whimsical touch, but I'm going to layer that underneath the burlap ribbon that has the white lace on it. And I am just gathering these up into about 5 loops. Usually I do 5 loops. I gather them together and tie off the ends of the loops. I knot them off with an elastic band to keep everything in place. I always save the elastic bands that come on my produce, like when I buy bunches of broccoli or asparagus, or anything like that that comes with an elastic band on it. I always save them, and they come in handy around the house, and I probably will never need to buy elastic bands again because I always save them and just reuse them for stuff like this. So once I have my little bow bundles, I'm going to hot glue those down onto the top side by side. So one way you have the bow facing and the little tails of the bow hanging off. And then I'm gonna fill in the other side of it now with Dollar Tree florals. And for that, I am using a mixture of the light colored maple leaves that they have, the navy blue roses, and the blue hydrangeas, also some of the white berries. These are just really festive. Honestly, I feel like these are so pretty for Christmas time too. And I think that this lantern, depending on your colors for Christmas, I think you could swap out a few of the flowers, make a couple little changes, and this is going to be so beautiful both for fall, for Thanksgiving, but also for Christmas and winter time as well. It's just going to be some beautiful Christmas decor. So you can definitely keep this all fall and all winter long. I used a lot of florals. I really wanted to make this super full and beautiful, and I tied a little pumpkin in there. You can tie in some of those little pumpkin add-ins or use whatever floral picks that you like. But I've got a couple of the white cream color mum flowers. Those were really pretty. One bouquet of the roses, one bouquet of the hydrangeas, like I said, some of the maple leaves and the white berries. And I think this just looks so beautiful. It would honestly go well even with glam decor. I think rustic glam is just, this is very rustic glam to me, with the buffalo check and a little bit of the touches of the gold in the ribbon. I'm taking one of these large pumpkin placemats from Dollar Tree along with one of the foam boards that they sell, and I've just got a marker here. I'm gonna just trace and outline this pumpkin onto the foam board, and then I took an X-Acto knife, and you could probably use like a box cutter or anything like that as well. And I'm just carefully cutting through this. You'll need to do the whole outline probably 2 times. One kind of goes through the top layer and the foam, and then I needed to go again one more time in order to kind of get through the second back layer. But I was able to do this, and it has turned out so much better than I even expected. So I can't wait to share this one with you guys. And I just went ahead and popped out my pumpkin now. And I was kind of undecided on what to do with the leaves, so I actually just left the leaf part as is, and you'll see what we do with that. But I did cut out the whole center section, so honestly you don't even need to trace that part. You would just need the ones on the end. So I actually cut this so that the inside would be cut out of the pumpkin, and we would just kind of create this outline shape of the pumpkin. I did cut out the little portion up by the stem part, and actually that makes a really easy way to hang this DIY. So optional, but I think it's a good idea. Pop out the middle section, and I already got started here with my chalk paint. I am using chalk paint in the color Java. Honestly, I think that a lighter brown would also look really nice. You could totally do this in orange if you prefer, but the dark brown does give you a nice look, more of a neutral fall, and I like the fact that I can fill in the edges of the foam board here where we were cutting, and it actually kind of makes it look like wood. I filled in all of the edges of the foam board with this dark brown chalk paint, and it filled it in so well that it looks like the edges of wood that have been kind of a little bit burned. And so I think that looks really cool. It looks like we burned out this portion of a piece of wood, and then with a very lightly dry brush, I just made the vertical strokes to kind of look and give it a little bit more of a wood grain texture. And now you could use a little welcome sign from Dollar Tree. The small one here is from Dollar Tree, and these come like 3 for $1, which is super affordable. I decided to go with a little bit larger one from Hobby Lobby, which was $3.99. And then I wanted to do something really neutral for this, so I've just got some of these like cream colored flowers from Dollar Tree, and I added in some of these brown berries. I forget the name of them. You can comment and let me know if you know what they're called, but Obviously, you can do whatever you prefer. I just hot glued these directly right onto my foam board here, and the same thing with the welcome sign. I kind of squished it into the foam board a little bit and then just added like a generous amount of hot glue there and on the back of the welcome sign going down onto the foam board. So it gave it like a pretty good secure base on the back, and this is holding together just fine. I think it turned out so pretty, and I can't believe that this was just a couple dollars to make. I think it looks so beautiful.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed. If you made it this far in this video, oh my goodness, I know this was a long one, so thank you so much. I love you guys. That's Kenzie running by. I wish you a beautiful and blessed day. I will probably have a few more fall DIYs coming and still working on for this year, so stay tuned for those. And then I will be getting into some Christmas DIYs a little early just to give you guys a head start in case you want to start some of your Christmas crafting a little bit early. But thank you so much for being here. Have an amazing day, and I will see you soon in the next one. Bye.